If you buy the wrong graphics card in 2026, you're not just wasting money, you're locking yourself into lag, stutter, and regret for the next 3 to 5 years. So in this video, we're counting down the 10 best gaming graphics cards for 2026. The cards that still make sense as the PC gaming landscape gets heavier, prettier, and more demanding. Tech moves fast, but the GPUs on this list are powerful enough today that they'll still be serious contenders going into 2026. We'll go from budget-friendly 1080p beasts all the way up to completely ridiculous 4K monsters. Let's jump in, starting at number 10. Intel Arc A770, the wild card budget pick. The Intel Arc A770 is the why not card on this list. No, it's not the fastest, but it is one of the most interesting budget options heading into 2026, especially on sale or secondhand. Why it's on the list? Solid performance at 1080p and even light 1440p in modern titles. Very good support for DX12 and Vulkan games as Intel's drivers have matured. Excellent AV1 hardware encoding, which is great if you stream or record gameplay. It shines in newer titles with modern APIs, and by 2026, you'll likely be able to grab one for very little money compared to NVIDIA and AMD cards. Who it's for? If you're building a budget gaming PC, don't need maxed out ray tracing, and you're okay tweaking settings or dealing with the occasional driver quirk, the A770 gives you a lot of performance per dollar. It's not the safest plug-it-in-and-forget-it card on the market, but it is a fun, capable choice if you want to stretch a small budget as far as possible. Number 9. AMD Radeon RX 7600. 1080p done right. The RX 7600 is the classic get-the-job-done card for 1080p gaming. By the time we're deep into 2026, this card should be very affordable, and that's where it really shines. What it does well? Excellent performance at 1080p high or ultra in most AAA games. Great for esports titles like Valorant, CS2, League, Fortnite at well over 100 FPS. Low power draw and simple cooling, so it works in budget builds with modest PSUs. It doesn't have a huge pool of VRAM, so it's not ideal for heavy 4K texture packs or future ultra-high-res mods. But for the vast majority of players on a 1080p monitor, it hits a nice sweet spot. By 2026, cards like the RX 7600 will be perfect for first gaming rigs, LAN, or secondary PCs, tight budget upgrades that still want 60 to 120 FPS at 1080p. If you care more about smooth gameplay than ultra-fancy visuals, this is a very easy card to recommend. Number 8. NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4060 Ti. Budget with DLSS brains. The RTX 4060 and 4060 Ti aren't the most exciting cards on paper, but they earn a spot here because of one thing: NVIDIA's software stack. These GPUs combine decent raw performance with DLSS 2 upscaling for higher effective FPS, DLSS 3 frame generation on the 40 series in supported games, and fantastic NVENC encoding for streamers and video creators. At 1080p and entry-level 1440p, the 4060 and 4060 Ti become much more attractive once you turn on DLSS. For games that support it, you can jump from barely 60 FPS to smooth 90 to 120 FPS without a massive drop in visual quality. Who are they best for? Gamers who play modern AAA titles that support DLSS, streamers who want NVIDIA's encoder and broadcast features, people upgrading pre-built PCs with smaller power supplies. If you're watching this in 2026 and you can snag a 4060 or 4060 Ti at a good price, they're still very capable cards, especially paired with a high-refresh 1080p monitor. Number 7. AMD Radeon RX 7700 XT and AMD Radeon RX 7800 XT. 1400p value machines. If your target is 1400p gaming without spending a small fortune, the RX 7700 XT and RX 7800 XT are where AMD really starts to flex. These two sit in that upper mid-range sweet spot. The 7700 XT is great for high-refresh 1080p and solid 1440p in modern titles. The 7800 XT pushes into very strong 1400p Ultra and even entry-level 4K in lighter titles. Both offer plenty of VRAM compared to similarly priced cards, strong raster performance, that is traditional non-ray traced graphics, and good power efficiency and mature drivers by this point. Ray tracing performance still trails NVIDIA a bit, but if you're mostly playing competitive shooters or non-RT AAA games, you're going to be very happy here. By 2026, these cards will likely be the go-to used market sweet spot for people upgrading from older GTX or RX 500 series hardware and wanting that big jump into 1400p territory. Think of it as upper-tier performance with a semi-sensible build. Number 6. NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070. Sensible all-rounder. The RTX 4070 is one of those cards that doesn't look flashy, but just makes sense for a ton of people. compatible. Here's why. Excellent 1400p performance, easily high or ultra in modern titles, can handle 4K in many games with a mix of settings and DLSS, and very efficient. Low power draw, runs cool, and fits in smaller cases. Full access to DLSS 3, ray tracing, and NVIDIA's full software ecosystem. This is the kind of GPU you buy if you want something you can plug in, forget about, and enjoy years of comfortable performance without constantly tweaking. By 2026, an RTX 4070 paired with a good CPU will still be a 1400p monster and a very solid entry point into 4K gaming with the help of DLSS. Think of it as set it to high and go, rather than min-maxing every setting. This is the workhorse card that quietly does everything well. Number 5. AMD Radeon RX 7900 XT. Affordable 4K. Relatively speaking. Moving up the stack, the RX 7900 XT is where 4K gaming really becomes comfortable without hitting the absolute top of the price chart. Here's what its key strengths. 20 gigabytes of VRAM, which is fantastic for high-res textures, future games, and heavy modding. Strong 4K raster performance, especially in non-ray trace titles, and often better price to performance than its direct NVIDIA rivals. Ray tracing performance still trails NVIDIA a bit, but if you're mostly playing competitive shooters or non-RT AAA games, you're going to be very happy here. By 2026, this card is likely to be one of the best big upgrade candidates for people coming from something like an RTX 2070 or 2080 or RX 5700 class GPU and finally jumping into 4K or high refresh 1440p. Think of it as upper tier performance with a semi-sensible build. Number 4. NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070 Super, the 1400p sweet spot. If there's one card on this list that balances performance, features, and long-term relevance, it's the RTX 4070 Super. Compared to the original 4070, the Super version brings a sizable bump in cores and performance, landing it close to what used to be 4070 Ti levels, but at a more reasonable price. Why it's so good? Absolutely crushes 1400p at high or ultra in modern titles, is very capable at 4K with DLSS and some smart tweaks, power efficient and easy to cool, and full support for DLSS 3 frame generation, ray tracing, and NVIDIA's latest tech. If you want to build a system in 2024 to 2025 and still feel comfortable with it in 2026, the 4070 Super is one of the best buy it and relax cards out there. This is the GPU I'd recommend to most people who want something nice but don't want to pay flagship prices. For a lot of people, this is the real top of the line in terms of what they actually need. Number 3. NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4800 Super, high-end 4K without going nuclear. The RTX 4800 Super lives in that awkward zone between wow and my wallet hurts. But if you want a serious 4K experience without going full 4090, this is your lane. What you're getting? Top-tier 4K performance in almost any modern title, strong ray tracing, especially when combined with DLSS 3, 16 gigabytes of VRAM, enough for heavy games at high settings for years, great for content creation, 3D work, video editing, AI workloads. You do need a strong power supply, a big case, and a healthy budget. But even going into 2026, the 4800 Super is the card that makes basically everything else feel compromised by comparison. For almost everyone, cards like the 4070 Super or 7900 XT will make more sense. But if you're asking what's the absolute best gaming GPU I can get, this is still the answer. Number 2. AMD Radeon RX 7900 XT, 4K beast with a ton of VRAM. The RX 7900 XT is AMD's flagship in this generation, and it's an absolute monster for 4K gaming. Here's what sets it apart. 24 gigabytes of VRAM, which is huge. It's fantastic for 4K high-res texture packs, modded open-world games, and future titles with bigger memory footprints. Excellent raster performance that can go toe-to-toe with NVIDIA's high-end in many non-RT games.
Number 1. NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090, the no-compromise monster. At the top of the list, unsurprisingly, is the RTX 4090. This is the card you buy if you want the absolute best gaming performance you can get your hands on. It dominates 4K gaming, even with ray tracing turned up and ultra settings across the board. With 24 gigabytes of fast VRAM, huge memory bandwidth, and an enormous number of CUDA cores, it doesn't just run games well, it crushes them. Add DLSS 3 and frame generation, and you're getting frame rates that were basically impossible a generation or two ago at this resolution. It's also an incredible card for content creators, 3D artists, and anyone doing AI or machine learning work at home. But it comes with some serious requirements. A strong power supply, plenty of physical space in your case, and a big budget. Most people don't need an RTX 4090. Cards like the 4070 Super or 7900 XT will be more than enough. But if the question is, what's the best gaming GPU for 2026? The answer is still the RTX 4090. The right card for you depends on your monitor, your budget, and how long you want to keep your system before upgrading again. But if you're shopping in 2026, these are the GPUs that will still make a lot of sense. Thanks for listening, and good luck with your next build.